Thank you for watching, and for today's upload, I wanted to tell the story about how I came to Sikhi. And that story is directly related with why I am so eager to share the truth about 3HO Sikh Dharma International and what a destructive cult that is. So those two stories are really related. The first thing that I want to say is that a lot of people incorrectly assume that I found Sikhi through Yogi Bhajan or through 3HO, and fortunately that is absolutely false. I learned about Sikhi before I even heard about 3HO or Yogi Bhajan or any of that bullshit. So I guess I'll just start from the beginning. First, another disclaimer though. Several people have said I'm abusive in my speech at times. This is on Facebook comments, so like that hardly matters anyway. But from that, they're saying that I'm not Sikh, and I mean, that's their claim, that I'm not Sikh. And honestly, that doesn't matter. Like, I absolutely couldn't care less if any human thinks I'm Sikh or not. In fact, for all practical purposes, you can all consider that I'm not Sikh. It doesn't matter. My message is still the same, and that's that 3HO is a destructive cult. My husband's an atheist, and he agrees. He helps me a lot with this work, with editing and such. And he gets even more angry than I do sometimes when we find things out about what 3HO cult is doing. So if you're a human and you care about other humans, you care about culture and accurate history and preservation of religions as they were created, it doesn't matter if you're Sikh, an atheist, a Christian, it doesn't matter. These things would be very offensive to you. So that's simply it. So you can think that I'm a Sikh or you can think that I'm not a Sikh. I don't care. So my journey began in my youth. I would say probably around the age of 15 or 16. I started to become curious about religion, about God, about what God was. I was raised as a Baptist, but none of that really ever made sense to me. That was the first place I looked, and I was searching for what is God. The answers that I got there honestly just didn't make sense. So I started studying Buddhism, Greek mythology. My mom was a reference librarian for over 20 years, and I would spend a lot of time in the religion section and just read as much as I could about religions, mythology, you name it. I would read. And I learned a lot. And I saw small pieces of truth in each religion and mythology, but I never really found the complete answer that I was looking for. So let's say, fast forward to my college years. I got a bachelor's degree in religious studies, and that's a bachelor's of science, which at that time, that was the only bachelor's of science in religious studies that was available in the country. Most religious studies degrees are Bachelor of Arts. So I got a little bit more analytical in my degree. There, I really started to focus on studying Hinduism, because I was also reading about, randomly on my own, about quantum physics and the nature of the universe from a scientific perspective. And the things that I was reading about Hinduism sort of matched that. And I thought, well, in many sacred Hindu texts, it's really matching like describing the nature of reality and the nature of universe and the nature of God. So I found matches there. So it started to make sense to me. Also, I went to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I saw a lot of Hindu art, and I became curious at that point. I was seeing this beautiful art. The aesthetic appealed to me. I was like, who are these blue gods with so many arms? That's so interesting. So that I started to study that as well. So I'd say from about 18 to the age of 30 something, I studied Hinduism on an academic and personal level. I know that there are a lot of problems in Hinduism. When you have such an old religion, you can't help but have a human created layers on top of what the original intent was. And while I did find a lot of answers in Hinduism about the nature of God and the nature of the universe, there were still questions and still things that I saw problems with. I wasn't satisfied with those answers. Regardless, as a gift, one year for my birthday in 2017, my husband got me a trip to India. It was like best of North and South India package thing. So we went to India in 2017. I was still enamored with Hinduism, studying Hindu gods and such. Now, our friend at that time there took us to... Okay, this is another side note. I apologize if I mispronounce anything, because surely I will. That is not my strong suit, and I apologize. But in Delhi, our friend took us to Sri Bangla Sahib gurdwara. And before that, I didn't know about Sikhi. I didn't know about it. What can I say? Another side note that I learned later in my studies is unfortunate, but that when you're studying religions and you go to any bookstore or any library here in the United States, you can go to the world religion section, Eastern religion sections, as it's called sometimes, and you'll find books on Buddhism, Hinduism, yoga, Shinto, general spirituality, anything. You'll find so many books on all of those topics, but 99.99% of the time, you'll never find a book about Sikhi, ever. Like, I'd never seen one before. So it's just not out there for easy access to people, at least in the United States, for people to learn about. So in Delhi, that was our second day there. I have to say that I was overwhelmed with everything that I was seeing. The chaos was overwhelming. So we went into the gurdwara complex, and I was taken to a completely different place. If you've been there, you know it's an oasis of peace in the chaos that is Delhi. And we walked around. We followed our friend who did the correct things there. So we did those things as well, washing our hands. He showed us the Langar Hall. And one thing about me is that you can say I'm a feeder. Since a long time ago, I've always had so much joy in making food for people and giving food to people. It doesn't matter who you are, what it is, like I want to put food into you. So I saw the Langar Hall, and they were making the food and they were feeding everybody, and I thought, this is amazing. What is this? I was so excited. It was so beautiful. So that was my first introduction to Sikhi. After that, we got home, we got back to Phoenix. And I really wanted to indulge more into the studies of what is Sikhi. What do they believe? Can I go somewhere here? Is there a gurdwara here in Phoenix? So I Googled gurdwara near me. And the top result was Guru Nanak Dwara. And I looked at their schedule of events and everything, and I saw that they offered a free yoga class. Now, I had been practicing yoga for 20 years, so I thought, okay, I'll take this yoga class because it's free. It seems like a thing that they do there at Guru Nanak Dwara. I'll go and I'll see about that. So I started attending some of the free Kundalini yoga classes. I saw that the people there were 98% Americans. There was a khanda, there was a Sikh symbol on the cover of their gong there. And they were using some Sikh scriptures in part of the Kundalini yoga practice. But I knew that the Gurdwara had different services as well. And so I started to go to those too. So concurrently, I was going to the yoga classes and the Gurdwara services. And as advertised by Guru Nanak Dwara, it was all part of the same belief system. And of course, I didn't know any better at the time. I was just trying to find Sikhi. But after a short time, I started to notice that there were a lot of differences between the people that went to the yoga class and people that only went to the Gurdwara service. First of all, the yoga people wore white, all the time wearing white. They would say Sat Nam to each other as a greeting and as a prayer. And they didn't really attend Gurdwara services. Some of them did, but most of them didn't. And at Gurdwara, I noticed people were wearing any color. Like, it didn't matter what color. They were also not saying Sat Nam to each other unless they were talking to the yoga people. So I really saw this division, and I became even more curious about why. These seem like maybe two different religions, or it just didn't make sense to me. So I started studying more about Kundalini yoga. Somebody told me about the organization 3HO, so I started studying more about that. And at that time, I also started offering seva as an English tutor to anybody at the Gurdwara who might like to participate in that. And the people that participated in that were the 6 Ragis that worked at Guru Nanak Dwara. And that was such a blessing to me, because really through all of them, I was able to ask the questions that I was having and get the really great answers about the differences between the 3HO cult and their yoga and the actual Sikh practices at the Gurdwara. Actually, I just realized like how long the story really is, and I know people's attention spans aren't that long, including my own. So I think I'll continue with the story in a part 2. So thank you so much for watching so far, and I hope to upload part 2 of this story next time.